the greatest perimeter player versus two of the greatest big men the league has ever seen. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Wilt Chamberlain have a stacked resume. They have a legitimate argument to dethrone Michael Jordan from the GOAT position. That's what the average NBA analyst will tell you. But if you really dig deep and analyze their careers, you'll be shocked by the actual results that we'll find together. Let's bring in the first competitor, Kareem. The biggest thing that he has over Jordan is longevity. He played an extra 5 seasons and 488 more games. That explains why he has 5 more All-Star appearances, 4 more All-NBA appearances, and thousands of more points and rebounds. However, accumulating numbers isn't the determining factor for many people's all-time rankings. It's more about peak performance. In other words, how did you perform when you were at the top of your game? Did you overachieve or underachieve? With these two players, it's safe to say that they're overachievers. The question is, who performed better? Let's start with the regular season. We're going to look at their combined averages for the first 13 seasons. I chose that number because that is how long Michael played with the Chicago Bulls. Also, they were both 34 years old at the start of their 13th season. Kareem averaged 27.8 points on 56% shooting, 13.7 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 3.3 blocks, and 1.1 steals per game. Jordan averaged 31.5 points on 51% shooting, 6.3 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 2.3 steals, and 0.8 blocks per game. During that span, Kareem won 6 MVPs and 4 scoring titles. He led the league in blocks 4 times, and he led the league in rebounds once. He also won 3 titles and 4 finals appearances, and received 1 finals MVP. Michael won 5 MVPs, he won 10 scoring titles, and he led the league in steals 3 times. He also won 6 titles and 6 finals appearances, and received 6 finals MVPs. A quick note, I did not mention Jordan's Defensive Player of the Year award because the NBA didn't introduce this award until the 1982-83 season. That was in Kareem's 14th season, so wouldn't it be fair to include that? Now let's break this all down. Kareem's numbers in rebounding and blocks will of course be much higher because of the position he plays. But we notice that Michael's scoring numbers are much higher. Kareem's biggest strength is scoring, but his scoring production was inferior to Michael's. He won 6 more scoring titles. The assists and steals are also in Jordan's favor. The numbers say he was a superior performer. That's highlighted even more so in the number of titles and finals MVPs he won over Kareem. He won twice as many titles and 5 more finals MVPs during his prime. And that's just the achievements. Now let's break this down statistically. In the playoffs, Kareem averaged 29.1 points on 53% shooting, 14.8 rebounds, 3.9 assists, 3.3 blocks, and 1.2 steals per game. Those are amazing numbers, but are they better than Michael's? In the playoffs, he averaged 33.4 points on 49% shooting, 6.4 rebounds, 5.7 assists, 2.1 steals, and 0.8 blocks per game. What you're looking at is the highest points per game average in the playoffs. So he's not just better than Kareem in the playoffs, but everyone else in basketball history. Here's another important factor. Michael never lost in the playoffs when his team was favored to win. It was always when he was the underdog. Can we say the same for Kareem? Let's go one by one. In 1973, he lost to the Golden State Warriors in the semifinals. They won 13 fewer games than the Bucks. In the following season, they had home court advantage against the Boston Celtics in the finals, but lost in 7 games. In 1977, they had home court advantage in the conference finals against the Blazers, but they got swept. Then in 1981, they lost in the first round as the 2nd seed. The Houston Rockets won 14 fewer games and they had a losing record, but they lost 2 games to 1. Michael Jordan never suffered that kind of defeat in the playoffs. Do you know what else he never did as a member of the Chicago Bulls? Missed the playoffs. Kareem did that in 2 straight years. That happened in 1975 and 1976. you'll notice a little card on the top right of your screen. That will take you to a video that I made where I discuss in full length those 2 seasons from Kareem. What's crazy is that he won the regular season MVP in 1975, the first season he missed the playoffs. That is the only time a player won the MVP while missing the postseason. That's how watered down the league was before they merged with the ABA. We're talking about 2 of the least competitive seasons in NBA history, and Kareem couldn't carry his team to at least the playoffs. That would never happen under Jordan's watch. In conclusion, we can say that Kareem accomplished a lot in his first 13 seasons. His prime was as good as any player, but it wasn't better than Jordan. For his next 7 seasons, he won 3 more titles, and he even added a Finals MVP. In this next phase of his career, Magic Johnson was clearly the Lakers' best player. He was the driving force of their dominance. That is the main difference between the two. In all 6 of Michael's titles, he was always the best player. That is why you would have to rank him over Kareem. Now it's time to bring in the next competitor, Wilt Chamberlain. He played a total of 14 seasons, so we're not going to count his final year. Let's look at his combined averages for the 13 seasons. He averaged 31.5 points on 54% shooting, 23.3 rebounds, and 4.4 assists per game. I'm going to bring up Jordan's numbers again, and you can see that they averaged the exact number of points. As far as the accolades, he won 4 MVPs and 7 scoring titles. He also led the league in rebounds 11 times. He won 2 titles in 5 finals appearances, and he won 1 finals MVP. Let's keep in mind that the finals MVP award wasn't introduced until 1969. As far as the regular season performance, you would have to give the nod to Wilt Chamberlain. Even if we account for the pace that the teams played with during the 60s and the increased number of possessions that make his regular season averages misleading, it's still impressive what he accomplished. He holds way too many records for me to just dismiss it. That is a good and bad thing for Wilt. If you are considered the greatest regular season performer of all time, that means you have to deliver in the playoffs. That means you have to, at the very least, match your regular season production. That's what Jordan did. He went from a 31.5 scoring average to 33.4 in the playoffs. Can Wilt say the same? Let's look at the numbers. He averaged 24 points on 52% shooting, 24.7 rebounds, and 4.3 assists per game. He averaged 7.5 points less in the playoffs. That is a huge difference. Here's an interesting fact about his career. In every single postseason of his career, he has never averaged more points than his regular season average. It was always less. That is the exact opposite of Michael Jordan. He averaged more points in every postseason except for 2. That means that Wilt should be held accountable for his multitude of playoff failures, and there were a lot. We cannot just blame his lack of help for not winning more. But let's talk about his supposed lack of help. I think there are 2 sides of the coin. In his first 5 seasons, which were all with the Philadelphia/San Francisco Warriors, he did not have a great supporting cast. I don't blame him for never winning a title during that span. The same can be said of Michael's first 5 seasons. They both needed to score an insane amount of points just to be competitive. But from the moment he was traded to the Philadelphia 76ers, he always had more than enough help. These were his teammates from 1966 to 1972 who were named a top 75 player in 2022. Hal Greer, Billy Cunningham, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor. Here are the additional Hall of Fame players, Chet Walker and Gail Goodrich. That is 6 legitimately legendary players that he played with during that 7-year span. That is why his teams finished with the best record in the league for 4 of those seasons. And how many titles does he have to show for it? Only 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, but with only 2 top 75 players and Hall of Famers, Jordan won 6 titles. Now let's dig deeper into their performance. They both have 6 finals appearances. Michael averaged 33.6 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists per game in the finals. Wilt averaged 18.6 points, 24.6 rebounds, and 3.8 assists per game. So we're talking about a 15-point difference. Additionally, there were 3 times when he lost the series while having home court advantage. On one of those occasions, he blew a 3-1 series lead. That never happened with Michael Jordan. Wilt's record in Game 7s is 4-5. Jordan's record is 2-1. It was rare that he was ever pushed to a 7th game, and he always stepped up in big games. We cannot say the same about Chamberlain. In fact, there were too many times when he was nowhere to be found. Like in Game 7 of the 1962 Division Finals, when he scored 22 points. That's 28 points less than his regular season average. Or in Game 7 of the 1968 Conference Finals, he attempted 1 shot in the second half. Or in the 1969 Finals, when he scored in the single digits for 3 games. He had all the talent and was later given all the resources to succeed, but he just couldn't make the most of it. The one thing he lacked was mental toughness. Jordan, on the other hand, was ruthless. I would say that is the biggest difference between the two players. The reality that the gap between the two playoff performers is way too large to give Wilt any serious considerations to be ranked over Michael Jordan. But what about you all? Do you agree that Kareem and Wilt should be ranked below Jordan? Where do you have these 3 players ranked in your all-time list? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.